Tackle 4, and this is one that I personally can't wait for. Karl, you was tasked with the formidable task of picking a fantasy Ashes England side ahead of the Ashes series this week. You've dived into current performance, who's performing right now. You know, not just the favourites, like some people suggest Shaun Wane maybe picking, and I'm really, really interested in hearing the team that you've come up with.
Well, Craig, there may be some of Shaun Wane's favourites in this side.
Yeah, well, it's about to be, yeah.
Yeah, so I've some of this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
Right.
I've picked an England side, which I believe will beat Australia.
Right
now, if we played Australia, I'm pretty certain it would be 3-game series to England.
Right. Well, that's a strong shout. And also, if you're picking individuals, you know, sometimes you got to pick players that can play as part of a team, you know, and have a strategic view of the team. Have you gone for this?
Let's have a look then. Right, so this is the England team I have picked. So at fullback, I've gone Jack Wellsby.
Right.
But I originally had Max Jowett in there.
Well, both, we can understand the reason why. Why have you gone with Jack Wellsby? Just experience of that level?
I did have Max Jowett as my starting fullback, right? That was the first name I had down on the team sheet. And I started looking at the stats. Yeah. Jack Wellsby, he's actually leading. He's like leading assists in the Super League this year. He's like leading meter maker coming out of backfield this year. So I backpedaled a little bit and I went with a bit of more of a safe option with Jack Wellsby. He's also scored quite a few tries again this year. So yeah, I was going Max Jowett, but I've gone Jack Wellsby. So pretty obvious one, that, isn't it?
I know,
nothing too much of a surprise there.
Yeah, not a surprise. You know, well-blooded England international. Does a lot of stuff that goes unseen, I think, by the neutral fan. Saints fans love him. We know that. Imagine Max Jowett, Championship to England international within 12 months. I mean, that'd have been great, and I'm sure he's on Shaun Wane's radar. I
100% think he's on the radar. You know who else I contemplated?
For God's sake, contemplated.
Sam Tompkins was even in the mix,
mate. I know
he's retired from international duty. I know he retired from rugby league, but he is having a great season this year.
I don't know if he's robust enough, but I agree with what you say.
He was in the mix. He was certainly in the mix. Right, Dom Young. He scored 5 tries in 6 games. There's been a bit of a question mark on his defence, certainly in the early rounds of the NRL, but he's so consistent with try scoring. His name cemented in that team sheet for me.
Right, well, there's no surprises yet. I know we're only 2 players but let's keep going.
We'll get there, right? So on the other wing, I've got Matty Ashton.
Right.
Matty Ashton didn't play the last series, did he, for England?
No, he was in the squad, wasn't he?
I think he might have been injured. Right. Matty Ashton, one of the best try scorers in Super League. Makinson's not going to make it anymore. Matty Ashton cemented for me. Right, centres, I've got Herbie Farnworth and Waddle. Do you agree with me so far?
Yeah, both outstanding players. But I thought he was coming up with something controversial here. Like, nothing surprises me here.
Right, halfbacks, right. What were you thinking with halfbacks?
Right, so Mikey Lewis, Harry Smith and George Williams, whatever, you know, combination that Shaun Wane decides. Hit me.
Right, I've gone Mikey Lewis at 9. You'll see.
Okay. My
halfbacks for England, based on form this year, I'd go Bevan French at 6 and Harry Smith at 7.
Bevan French? Is he eligible, is he?
Bevan French is eligible to play for England, mate.
Well, as a Wigan player as well, you could... Are we going to see Bevan French pulling an England shirt?
Yeah.
Do you think we can convince him to switch allegiances?
Well, I did some proper digging here. Like, genuinely, he got to be resident in the UK, in England for 5 years. He ticks that box. He's had a pie from Wigan, so that makes him eligible. And he's probably had a sausage roll from Greg. So he's literally, he can play for England in this Ashes series, 100%.
Right.
And the Aussies will snub him because they believe that only the best players play in the NRL. And they also believe that you have to play state of origin to be eligible for Australia, another bonkers rule that they have. I genuinely believe that Bevan French is one of the best players in the world. I think we have got one of the best players in the world playing in Super League.
There's no denying that.
Well, the Aussies would argue differently, wouldn't they? He's not going to get a chance for Australia. The only chance he's going to get to prove that he's the best player in the world is if he puts on that England shirt.
Well, you're making a real good case. So you've got Bevan French, Harry Smith, no George Williams then?
Well, yeah, you could only pick two. And Harry Smith, I think, yeah, I mean, George Williams is having a great season, isn't he?
Well,
he's having a great season.
And he's the England captain. So, what happens there?
But Harry Smith and Bevan French,
they play.
It's tried, tested, play week in, week out. And I reckon Sean Wayne's probably knocking around there somewhere. So, yeah, that's my halfback pairing. Right, Mike McMeekin at prop.
Yeah.
Stellar season so far. Second top tackler in Super League this year.
And you can, he plays big minutes, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Big minutes.
He could play 80 minutes if you need him to. He's like our proper, Jamie Peacock.
Yeah.
He's Mike McMeekin.
Yeah.
It's got to be in there. Right, hooker, I've already gone Mikey Lewis. The hooker was the one position I wasn't sure on.
I mean, no. Hooking is a position where we've never struggled in terms of England.
No, we've always had James Roby. I mean, you can throw Darryl Clark in there, but I'll be honest, I don't think Darryl Clark's having the best season at the minute.
Danny Walker?
Possibly. Jez Litton can play at 9.
Oh, but Jez Litton's doing it week in, week out, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when and he's got versatility to play elsewhere as well.
But then you've got the top try scorer in Super League, Mikey Lewis. Do you leave him out of the side? Because you're playing Bevan French. I'm saying that it's like Bevan French is actually playing for England.
No, but this is the idea of a fantasy team, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've got to stake your case.
Well, it's yeah.
I don't know about Mikey Lewis at 9 when you've got someone as strong as Jez Litton and then also Danny Walker.
He did it in the last England series, didn't he? But I mean, coming on from the bench. So would you go Danny Walker?
I think I would as a dedicated hooker. You know what I mean? And who's someone who's robust, he's strong, he's physical enough to deal with those Aussie players, the Aussie forwards, and I think he makes great decisions. And when he breaks free from, acting half, he can be devastating at the right time. Now, I'm not saying Michael Lewis can't do that, but I think Michael Lewis can have a little bit of a hot head. He is susceptible to emotion. We know he's an emotional player. He's certainly emotional after games.
Yeah, you need that though.
Yes, you do, but you can't let that cloud your judgment. And I don't think I'd be picking Michael Lewis ahead of Danny Walker in a hooking position as a pivot or something. Maybe, but I don't know. But this is your team,
right.
And
the other prop I've gone Owen Trout,
mate.
I'm giving him his international debut. I know it's a big game to come in as your debut of Ashes, but he's been so good for Lee. I couldn't leave him out. Just couldn't leave him out. I've put him ahead of some very experienced England forwards there.
No, do you know what? I completely agree. And I think Owen Trout this year is epitomising an England forward. Like he is launching into players like Morley-esque. I'm not saying taking off heads and stuff like that, but just going out to batter people, leaving nothing on the table, and incredible to watch. And I think you're right. Whether he's on the pitch or on the bench,
material,
I'm not sure. But I like the fact that you've included him in the lineup.
We've got to change it up a little bit. We can't keep picking same side every year. Right, I've got Victor Radley and Matty Nicholson in my second row. Matty Nicholson is ripping it up in the NRL. Absolutely ripping up. He's got...
And I can't mention Matty Nicholson without sort of eating humble pie, because I wrote him off going down to the NRL, and he's just scoring for fun, isn't he?
Yeah, he's played 5 games and he's scored 4 tries. He's an absolute handful. He's found another level. He's definitely found another level. And with me having Victor Radley in the second row, that gives me a loose forward position open. I've gone with Elliot Minchella. What do you think?
What strikes me about Elliot Minchella, and I know he does week in, week out, performs at a very, very high level. Has he got the physical stature? Has he got the menace that Victor Radley brings at loose forward?
I mean, your other option's Liam Farrell.
No, I think Liam Farrell is a little bit aged. I know he's certainly not at...
Morgan Smithies?
Yeah, I think he could do a job at loose forward. What other options we got? I mean, you could have like Victor Radley 13 and then Junior Nsemba in the second row.
Well, yeah, I mean, on my bench I've got, there's a number of players there. I've got Nsemba, Liam Farrell, Max Jowett, Smithies, James McDonnell as well. I've thrown on the bench. I think he's having a cracking season for Leeds.
Yeah, I really, really rate James McDonnell. I love what he does. Yeah.
So there's my controversial England lineup for the Ashes. It's going to win the Ashes this year.
Right, Karl, you've picked your team. You've made your case. Talk to me about tactics and strategies here. How's this series going to play out? How are you, as the head coach of England, going to secure the win for us staunch England fans?
Well, it'd be interesting to see which side Australia bring over first of all, because Australia, I know I've picked Bevan French in my England side, right? However, Australia tend to pick Kiwis, Tongans, Samoans, Cook Islanders. But you know what? A lot of those players are defecting now to their
home nation.
Yeah, to their home nation. So I think Australia are going to be a little bit weaker than they have been in previous years if they have to pick Australians to play for them, right? So I think first game, this is how it'll unfold. England will win the first game.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to be at Wembley. It's going to be packed house. The Aussies, it always takes them a little while to find the feet, right? When they come to the UK, they've always got to find the feet. Jet lag, all the rest of it kicking in, new country. England tend to play very well on the first game. I think we'll win the first game by 10 points.
Right, okay. Player of the match?
I think it'll be one of the forwards. Matty Nicholson.
Right, okay.
Matty Nicholson, 2 tries.
Right. All right.
Right, game 2, Australia will find the feet. England will get blown away in game 2 at Everton. Going into the final match at Headingley, 1 apiece. And at this point, the Aussies will absolutely shit themselves. They don't like playing at Headingley with a packed crowd. It's going to be right on top of them. They're going to face an atmosphere that they've never faced before. They don't even sing songs in Australia. I've witnessed it firsthand, mate. I've been there at Vegas, watched the Aussie crowds. There's just nothing from them. The England fans will be in fine voice. Do you ever remember watching the World Club Challenge between Leeds? Was it Manly that they played?
Well, they have played Manly, yeah. Which game you on about?
I think it was Manly, World Club Challenge. And like Manly dropped the ball from the kickoff.
This is relatively recent.
Yeah.
I remember they
were all over the place. The atmosphere was an absolute cauldron at Headingley. Mate, you're going to turn that up times 10 this time. Australia won't be able to handle it. They won't be able to handle it. England will win this series.
So the crowd, 18th man for England then.
100%.
So I mean, are you being honest here? Like, you think, like, obviously England have never won an Ashes series, or they haven't won an Ashes series for decades, have they? You know what I mean? In fact, rarely have they actually won a game. We still talk about that game where was it Great Britain?
Yeah, we've
won the game. You know,
predominantly we've only really won 1 game out of some of the Ashes, haven't we? But that was a long time ago. But do you know what England never had back then? We always had a pack that would frighten the life out of Australia. We always had a strong pack. We never had the outside backs, and we never had a perfect halfback pairing. I've solved that problem, mate.
Yeah,
I've solved that problem, and that's what I genuinely think we've got a good chance.
There'll be a lot of people they'll be wondering how you can have an England squad without George Williams in there right now.
He's on my bench.
All right, okay, all right.
I'll put it to you like this, right?
This has been the headache for a couple of years, though. Like the halfback pairings, who plays one.
Well, what problem to have?
Yeah,
we've just got quality between Mikey Lewis, George Williams, Harry Smith, and now you've got Bevan French as well. What a headache to have that is.
I know, and it's the formidable at Wigan. You know what I mean? You've got the consistency and the application of skill from Harry Smith, and then just the radical craziness that Bevan French brings, where he can just break down. I mean, whenever I think of Bevan French, I think about that Matt Peake quote where he said they have this tongue-in-cheek joke where sometimes they just send a message down saying, just tell Bevan French to score already. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, there you go. It goes and scores a try from nothing. You know what I mean? And to do that for England would be incredible. And how many people do you think would welcome into an England shirt?
Well, I would. International sport it's not just about where you've bloody born, is it, anymore? It's not. It genuinely isn't.
No, but you've got to have an allegiance, wouldn't you? I mean, to be fair, we had Jackson Hastings not too long ago.
Mate, we had Roger Chase playing for us back in, and we welcomed Rangi with open arms, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, and Victor Radley, you know, he's a firm favourite in England, you know, because he brings some steel, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He brings some steel. You know that there's a card imminent. You know what I mean? Because he brings that to the game.
So if Bevan French is watching, put your name down, mate.
Put your name forward. Maybe he has. Right, okay.
I was going to go in harder on that and say, I've heard a rumour.
Questions are being asked.
A
source
close to me. Yes.
Right. If you've enjoyed this style of sort of fantasy England team, especially with the Ashes and the World Cup coming up next year, make sure you hit subscribe and hit the like button to let us know that you've enjoyed it, so we can do more of that kind of stuff. And of course, we welcome your comments, good, bad, indifferent, in the comment section down below. What do you think about George Williams being on the bench, Mikey Lewis at hooker, Bevan French featuring in an England side, and the fact that Karl thinks that this is the best opportunity that we've had to win an Ashes series for a long, long time?